The imperial vault of the Xylar dynasty stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian floors, each tile worth more than Jared Cole would earn in 10 lifetimes. He pushed his cleaning cart through the cavernous hall, its squeaky wheel echoing like a mouse's cry in a cathedral. Above him, alien artifacts from 1,000 conquered worlds hung suspended in stasis fields, glowing with forgotten power. Jared had been cleaning the vault for 3 years now, ever since Earth's surrender. The job was simple. Keep the floor spotless, don't touch anything, and remain invisible. Humans were good at being invisible these days. You there, human? The voice cracked like thunder through the vault. Emperor Xylarian swept into the hall, his crimson robes trailing behind him like rivers of blood. His 4 eyes blazed with irritation, and his chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the bioluminescent ceiling. Behind him scuttled a dozen courtiers, their antennae twitching nervously. Jared immediately dropped to one knee, eyes fixed on the floor. Standard protocol when addressed by Xylar nobility. "This display is a disgrace," Xylarian hissed, gesturing toward a raised platform in the center of the vault. Upon it sat what appeared to be a simple metal sphere, roughly the size of a basketball, covered in centuries of dust and grime. "The primordial orb, the crown jewel of my collection, and it looks like a rusted ball bearing. Clean it now." Jared's throat went dry. "Your Magnificence, I'm not authorized to touch the exhibits." "Vault security protocols. I am the protocol." Xylarian's voice rose to a shriek that made several courtiers faint. "I am the Emperor of 17 star systems. When I command, you obey. Clean that relic immediately, or I'll have you cleaning the waste processing chambers with your tongue." There was no arguing with an emperor, especially not one as temperamental as Xylarian. Jared rose slowly, grabbed a cleaning cloth from his cart, and approached the sphere with the caution of a man approaching a sleeping dragon. The moment his fingers touched the metal surface, the universe held its breath. The sphere thrummed to life beneath his palm. Warm, alive. Lines of brilliant blue light erupted across its surface, forming patterns that hurt to look at. Geometric impossibilities that existed in dimensions the human eye wasn't meant to perceive. The dust didn't wipe away. It was absorbed, pulled into the sphere like water into parched earth. "What have you done?" Xylarian stumbled backward, his arrogance evaporating into raw fear. Jared tried to pull his hand away, but the sphere held him fast. The blue light traveled up his arm, not burning but singing through his nervous system like electricity made of music. Information flooded his mind, vast, ancient, incomprehensible. He saw civilizations rise and fall in nanoseconds. He felt the birth of stars and the silence of entropy, and beneath it all a voice older than galaxies inheritor recognized. Genetic marker confirmed. Authorization granted. The sphere lifted from its platform, still connected to Jared's palm by threads of light. Throughout the vault, every stasis field flickered and died. Artifacts that had been dormant for millennia began to hum, to glow, to wake. A sword of crystallized starlight sang a note that shattered 3 observation windows. An ancient crown pulsed with the heartbeat of a dead sun. A set of armor, black as the void between worlds, assembled itself in midair. "Impossible." Xylarian's voice cracked with terror. "The primordial orb was created by the precursors, the first race. No species has been able to activate it in 10 million years. We've tried everything. Quantum manipulation, temporal displacement, sacrificial rituals, nothing worked." The voice in Jared's head spoke again, and this time his mouth moved with it. "The precursors were human. This sphere contains the genetic lock of humanity's ancestors, seeded across the cosmos before your species crawled from your oceans. Only human DNA can awaken the legacy." The Emperor's 4 eyes widened in horror. "No, that's not. Humans are primitive, weak. You were conquered in 3 days." "We surrendered," Jared heard himself say, though the words felt like they came from somewhere ancient and vast. "There's a difference. We chose survival over pride. But survival was always temporary." The sphere released him suddenly and Jared collapsed to his knees, gasping. The flood of information receded, but echoes remained. Blueprints, coordinates, activation codes for technologies that made the Xylar Empire's weapons look like stone axes. Around the vault, the awakened artifacts began to move, drawn to Jared like iron to a magnet. The starlight sword floated down and hovered beside him, waiting. The black armor flowed across the floor like liquid shadow. The crown settled itself on a nearby pedestal, its light pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Xylarian's courtiers fled, their chitin clicking against the obsidian floors like bones rattling in a wind. The Emperor himself stood frozen, watching his most prized possessions align themselves with a human janitor. "This changes nothing," Xylarian snarled, but his voice shook. "You're one human, one. I have armies, fleets, weapons that can crack planets like eggs." Jared stood slowly, his legs unsteady. He wasn't a warrior, wasn't a hero. He was just a janitor who wanted to go home. But as he looked at the Emperor, at the being who had conquered his world, enslaved his people, and treated him like animated furniture, something shifted inside him. "You're right," Jared said quietly. "I am just one human. But this sphere?" He gestured to the artifact floating beside him. "It's a beacon, and right now, it's calling to every precursor artifact in the galaxy, every weapon they left behind, every ship, every piece of technology they scattered to the stars before they transcended this dimension." The sphere pulsed once, bright enough to paint shadows across Xylarian's face. "And all of them," Jared continued, his voice gaining strength, "will only answer to human hands." In orbit above the capital world, 17 Xylar battlecruisers suddenly reported catastrophic system failures. Their weapons wouldn't fire. Their engines wouldn't respond. And deep in their cores, ancient machinery that predated the Empire itself began to wake and remember who had created it. Emperor. Xylarian looked at the human. Janitor really looked at him for the first time and understood that he had just given the most catastrophic order of his reign. "Just clean that relic," he'd said, and Jared Cole had. Now everything would change.